Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. You just call on your brother need a hand, 'cause we all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand, 'cause we all need somebody to lean on.
It's hard to like yourself if you're not the best at something.
How can you make friends with other people if you don't like yourself?
If you don't love yourself, it can really get to you.
Somehow, you have to learn to believe in yourself.
Remember, right up the road, if you just call me, if you need a friend, call me, if you need a friend, call me, if you need a friend.
Do you think that he'll like this?
Yeah, sure. It looks great.
Well, I don't know. How about this? Is it me?
It doesn't matter. Either one is fine.
Well, I don't know. How about this? You know, casual.
It's just a dance. Let's go.
Okay.
But uniqueness really doesn't mean trends or dressing or anything to me. It means something special about the person. That makes them unique to me.
I think it's unique to be able to say no when everybody else is saying yes.
I know for me, like when I was in junior high, I didn't know who I was, so like whenever I would get around different groups, I would change my personality, you know, like if I was around the popular group, then I would just act all mature and, you know, just try to be cool and everything, and then like when I got around some other groups, I would totally change my personality, and that was like my whole little image was, I didn't know who I was, so no one else did either. And
I was always kind of made fun of just because I was never really good at sports or anything, and all my friends were, and I was just kind of sitting there on the sidelines going, hey, that's cool, but I was just always on the sidelines. I never played. I was always picked last.
One of the biggest problems I had was probably what I used to wear and dress. A lot of the popular kids used to wear, you know, the Nikes, Massimo, you know, all the brand names, and I never did. I remember one of the things my friends and I used to do was wear overalls with one strap down, pegged pants. That was the thing we did, and to fit in, you know, and we were a little group that fit in, and it felt good, but at the same time, you were just like everybody else. One of the biggest things with peer pressure in middle school for my friends was most of my friends wanted to lose their virginity real quick. You know, they got to the age where they hit puberty and they didn't want to be virgins anymore.
I know a lot of girls, when they have a trouble with their identity, they end up sleeping around a lot, hoping that that will somehow bring them an identity. They can't make it on their own, so they have to depend on all these other people to make up for what they don't have, which they really do have. They just need to find it by themselves, because nobody else is going to find it but themselves.
Yeah, I know this one guy at my school. He's really fallen into the peer pressure of getting into drugs and alcohol, and the weird thing is he used to be the most cool guy there ever was. He's just fun to hang around. He'd do really fun stuff with you, and he's just a real normal guy you could just hang out with. But then he got into high school, and over a period of one summer, he really got into drugs and alcohol. And he just started into a little bit, but then he decided that he just has to do more and more just to be cool with all of his friends.
A lot of things I see people doing to become, you know, have something to be a part of is, you know, join gangs and do the dress, do the drugs, the violence. It really doesn't seem worth it just to be a part of a group. You know, you could do sports or something like that instead of just being in a gang.
This year I started at a new school, and there was a lot of peer pressure that I had to deal with because I didn't know anyone there, and I was by myself. And when I get into a new environment, I tend to kind of back off and I get real quiet. And in those kind of situations, you know, the natural response for most people is just to want to be like everybody else and do what they did. But there's a lot of things that people did that I didn't agree with, and I took a stand for that.
When I was about 16, I had a problem with anorexia. That was probably because I didn't know who I was, and I thought that by losing weight, I would find myself or something like that, and it didn't help the problem. It only made it worse. Eating disorders can kill you, and they don't, you know, bring you some sort of identity that you can live with. And it was really hard for me to kind of get back to, you know, knowing who I was, and it took a year for me to realize that I am just fine the way I am, and that, you know, by starving myself, I wasn't going to find out who I was, and it took a lot of people to care for me to do that. So just know that you are worth loving, and that you shouldn't have to change yourself and do desperate things simply to be liked or involved.
I think peer pressure and sex go hand in hand. A lot of times it's generalized that the guy is the one always pressuring the girl to have sex, but I know sometimes that it's the girl who pressures the guy also. And if you can't stand up and tell them no and tell them why and what you believe in, then they're always going to know that they can just push you around and do whatever they want.
I think there's nothing worse than people who try to deal with their problems by just like doing drugs or just rebelling against everyone in the world and just going off and doing whatever they feel like doing. If you've got problems, that's not the way to deal with it. You have to just face it and just stand up to what your problem is. There's no other way to get around it.
Hello?
Hey Sarah, how you doing?
Good.
Are your parents still at work?
Yeah, why?
I was thinking I could come over and see you.
What for?
Well, you remember last time.
I don't think so, Jared.
What? You had a good time. What's your problem?
I don't want to do that.
What, are we Miss Prissy now?
I have the right to change my mind.
Come on, I don't think you want to change your mind.
Are you hard of hearing?
Come on, you know you wanna.
I'm sorry, you must have dialed the wrong number.
I think everybody has weak points, but you just have to accept those and move on, so you don't really have to carry them into future relationships.
Like amongst my friends and things like that, it's like, you know, one of my girlfriends, she had really low self-confidence and low self-esteem, and I noticed that when that came to the relationship, she didn't have much to offer him and didn't have much to, you know, provide, because she didn't have the love of herself, so she really couldn't give it away. And I think that can really hurt a relationship, and so confidence is really important. You just have to believe in yourself and know that you're worth loving.